Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday as we break down this 12-game main slate for DraftKings. A lot of top-end pitchers, in my opinion, and not a whole lot of cheap stuff to really get excited about. So it's going to make this slate really interesting. I feel like top bats are all really tight together, so it's going to spread out ownership even more compared to your typical 12-game slate, which is already kind of spread out. Weather-wise, pay attention to Baltimore game, pay attention to the New York Mets game. Those are really the only two that have any sort of threat. It looks like maybe rain clears out closer to first pitch, but it's going to be raining all day long in each of these two cities. So maybe the field's going to be super wet and they don't want to play on it. We'll see. We'll see. So let's just kind of go down and break through it all. So top five pitchers in terms of salary: Glasnow, Suarez, Ryan, Kikuchi, and Houck. Glasnow has looked absolutely dominant so far this season. He does have a tougher matchup in terms of like strikeout upside, facing off against San Diego. They're a team that just does not strike out a whole bunch as a team. He actually did start off the season facing off against them. And you can see here, he only had 3 strikeouts in that game. Do I take a lot from that Korea series? Remember, this was the game that was over in Korea like a week before the rest of the regular season started. No, I don't really look too much into those games at all. But lately, this guy's been absolutely dominant, averaging almost 9 to 10 strikeouts per game in each of his starts. So regardless of the price tag, regardless of the matchup, he's almost matchup proof at this point in time. Ranger Suarez, though, he's got a much better matchup facing off against Miami. If you've watched these videos, you know by now, like Miami versus left-handed pitching is so bad. And then like on top of that, they lost their contact and batting average guy in Arias out over to San Diego, funny enough. But Suarez, he's been phenomenal so far this season. 46 strikeouts, only 6 walks, just a great ratio with that. He's limiting hard contact. He's going deep into games. He's super efficient. You can see he's going 6, 7. He's gone 8 and 9 complete game here, and he's only reached over 100 pitches just once. So you can kind of see how efficient he has been. So I actually rank Suarez over Glasnow. I do have the sheet up here. We are going to be looking to it here in one moment, but I just want to talk about these guys first. So Suarez I actually have ahead of Glasnow. Ryan, he's got similar numbers to Suarez in terms of like strikeout rate and walk rate. Actually, it's completely identical, 46 to 6. But Ryan has not been as efficient. He's also got just a tougher matchup facing off against Toronto here. Toronto, another team that just doesn't strike out a whole bunch. So when I'm looking at two guys with fairly similar, K to walk percentages, but like one guy has better hard hit rate and one guy has a better matchup and one guy is in a better pitcher's park, I'm going to be taking Suarez over Ryan in that regard. Houck, similar thing as well to Suarez and Ryan in terms of like strikeout rates, but he is far cheaper. You can see he's only 9.1K compared to the 10.1 and 10.3 of the R2 guys. Just another guy who's just been very efficient, going 6-7 innings pitched, keeping his pitches under 100. I don't really have any concern with him at all. Washington is not a team that should be scaring you by any means, and I do really like the salary savings that you could be getting there. Kikuchi, he's just kind of rounding the things off from this top 5. So this is where I ranked out the high salary guys and the aces. I have interest in all of them. Honestly, maybe not so much Kikuchi, just because, like, if you're in that price range, I'd much rather have any of the other guys. But still, I'm going to go with Suarez up at the top, just in a beautiful matchup facing off against Miami, and just with how efficient he has been and that strikeout rate, which has ticked up. Glasnow, the ceiling is certainly there, but 10.9K is a really tough price to stomach, especially when you can see, like, there's not a lot of cheap guys that I like at all. 24 pitchers going on this slate, and only 3 of them do I have any interest in below like 7K. So it's how much is gray here? 7.2K. Yeah, like it's rough. Even Blackburn 7.5K. So is he cheap? Yeah, I guess. But yeah, it's a whole lot of nothing down there. Going into the mid tier, Webb, he's actually going to be my favorite guy here. Webb's just a great ground ball pitcher, and he's facing off against Cincinnati. Cincinnati strikes out a ton, so we always have a little bit more interest when facing off against them just because of that strikeout upside that we can be getting. So it wouldn't shock me if Webb is able to get to that 6, 7, maybe even 8 strikeout game when he's getting like a ceiling game here. There is a little bit of concern that comes with it though, just with facing off against Cincinnati and the power that they do have in their lineup. The offense is scary. It is scary for sure, but Webb is a guy who likes to keep the ball on the ground. I mean, you could see the ratios right here, like 18-4 ground ball to fly ball ratio, 10-2, 14-1, 14, like an extreme ground ball pitcher. And now he's played at home in that pitcher's park. I think that he's going to be my favorite mid-tier salary guy. A guy like Crochet, we saw the hype. We saw what he is capable of. It's just that Cleveland is a team that just doesn't really strike out a whole bunch. So I feel like it really limits his upside. Can he get there? Absolutely. I think he's more of a GPP play, though, in that regard. Lance Lynn, I don't want any interest in him facing off against Milwaukee. Milwaukee has a lot of lefties that can really, I don't want to say damage him. That's not the right word. Get to him. I don't know. But no interest in Lance Lynn there. Woo, he's coming off the IL. I don't know how far he's going to be going into this start. I wish I knew how many pitches he would be going. My best guess is that he goes maybe like 70. And if that's the case, okay. Like, he's a fine pitcher. He's got a nice matchup facing off against Oakland. But yeah, I don't see him really going. He's not going to get a full workload. He's not going 90 pitches. So that's really the main hesitancy towards him there. Morton, he's fine. I mentioned in my last video with Morton on this slate. Like, he's a guy who's not going to be, breaking the slate and getting you a massive ceiling game, but he's also not going to be like getting you 2 DK points and it's just an absolute disaster. He's just kind of there. So looking at the sheet, I have Webb ranked number one. I kind of mixed woo right there, but pay attention to the pitch count. I don't know how deep into the game he is going to be going, but my best guess would be maybe like 70-75 pitches. Morton, he's just very average there. Crochet, he's got a very low floor, but I do like his upside more than I do like Morton's. And then Fott, he's almost more into like the fade and no interest category. Going over into the cheap, we're going to go with Gray. He's probably going to be my favorite cheap guy. I could see him being very popular. Even though we're in Coors, I could still see him being a quite popular guy. You can see he's been doing phenomenal as of lately. In his past 4 starts, 21 strikeouts, only 1 walk. You can see he's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in all but one of his starts so far this season. So he's been consistent. He's been, I don't want to say the word dominant, but he's been pretty dominant. And Coors doesn't really scare me in terms of like opposing pitchers in Coors. This Colorado offense is just so bad. They're so bad. So I'm not going to have any concerns there. So in cash games, I think Gray could be pretty popular. And then pairing Gray with a guy like Suarez or Glasnow or how like it's fine. You could pair him with any one of those guys. I'm not like dead set on either of those top tier aces. I think all of them are very, very viable to put into your lineup. So you're looking at around 4K remaining in terms of like cash builds for the rest of your build, which it's doable for sure. Gasser, this is, I think, his MLB debut for Milwaukee, and he's got a nice matchup facing off against St. Louis. St. Louis is not an offense that you should be terrified by any means. He's a lefty facing off against a bunch of righties in that St. Louis lineup, but like the Arenados and the Goldschmidt. Did you know Goldschmidt's hitting under 200 this season? His average is like 192. Like, this offense has been so disappointing, so bad, but I'm gonna have a little bit of interest in Gasser just because of how cheap he is at 5K. Like, he's not gonna really be burning you by any means, like if he doesn't do super well. So I'll take the bait at that price tag in that matchup. If you look at the Vegas odds, Milwaukee is actually favored here. So clearly they think that, Milwaukee, that Gasser has some stuff to his game, and he's going to be doing fairly decent. How deep is he going to go into the game? I don't know. I don't know how Milwaukee management's going to be looking at this guy in his MLB debut, but he is a higher prospect in the Milwaukee system. So, I don't know. We'll see. But 5K, I don't mind him at all. I'll still take Gray over Gasser, but then I'm going to take Gasser over Blackburn. Blackburn facing off against Seattle, very high strikeout rate on Seattle, so always going to be interested in the pitchers facing off against them. Everybody else, just no really interest at all. I mean, this is a lot of gas cans here, like Corbin, Canning, Gomber, Carrasco. Quintana can't strike anybody out either. King, he had his moment last month, but after that, nope. And it's just a whole lot of grossness all over the place, which makes me like a lot of the top bats. Obviously, you have Texas in Coors facing off against Gomber, who you're going to have a whole lot of interest in, especially those righties. Guys like Adolis Garcia and Semien are definitely going to be at the forefront of your lineup. Jonah Heim, he went 4 for 4 the other day. He's hitting the ball very well as of late, so he's going to be another guy into that stack. So maybe those are the 3 guys that you do start off with. But I don't think that it's just Texas and then a massive gap in everybody else. I feel like a lot of these teams are really jumbled together. Boston, Philadelphia, Atlanta, the Dodgers, Baltimore, all of them are looking very nice in terms of their spots. Baltimore would probably be my least favorite of them all, facing off against Irvin. But Vegas seems to really like them. They have one of the highest projected implied run totals on the entire slate. But you got the Dodgers going up against King, and I mentioned how King has kind of been struggling. He had his moment earlier on, but this Dodgers offense, especially the lefties facing off against King, I'm going to have a lot of interest in them. Ohtani is having a season for the ages here at this point in time. I mentioned in our Discord just a quirky stat that was happening. This was about a week ago, so the numbers have changed, obviously. But he was hitting 370. Yet when I looked at his expected batting average was at 380. So, obviously the 370 was unsustainable, but he was actually being, unlucky, quote unquote, in terms of that his expected batting average should have actually been higher than that 370 mark that he was at. So he's been doing fantastic. You also have Muncy in there, who had a grand slam the other day. We know what his home run upside can be. Freddie Freeman, awesome. Mookie Betts, I don't care, lefty-righty matchup, he's always in there. Gavin Lux, he's another lefty. His bat's starting to come alive here. So I do really like the Dodgers bats. You just have to pay attention to how expensive they are. The Boston bats, facing off against Patrick Corbin. I know Corbin's a lefty, and Boston has a lot of lefties in their lineup. O'Neill, man, he's pricey. I guess I didn't realize how pricey he was when I was looking at my initial research here. But Corbin is just a guy I'm going to be picking on. I will take it with a grain of salt, though, because I've been picking on Corbin for years. Everybody at FSi, everybody in DFS has been picking on Corbin for years. But Corbin just seems to have these random, really good starts out of the blue, and nobody expects it. But the underlying metrics say that this guy gets hit hard. He has a low strikeout rate, he has a high hard hit rate. He doesn't really induce any ground balls at all. It's a lot of fly balls, it's a lot of line drives, which really kill you. That's the main thing that kills you as a pitcher is those line drives. They just have such a high, expected batting average. When you look at the StatCast and everything. So I really do like the Boston lineup here. O'Neill, absolutely. Abreu. Wong, I know he's hitting 350 whatever over the course of the season, but his expected batting average is way worse. The regression is coming, but I guess while the luck is there for him, keep riding it. So I do like Boston in that regard. Philadelphia, Atlanta. Philly's just on a tear. When will Philly ever play a good team? That's my question. I can't remember what the stat was, but they're just continually playing teams that had a below 500 record when they played them. So you can see Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Washington, Cincinnati, they were below 500 when they played them. Colorado, the White Sox, Cincinnati again, the Angels, they haven't played any of these top tier teams, but it's allowed them to do very well. Their offense is clicking. They're facing off against Rogers. Like, I could see this getting out of hand really quick. Stott, he's after a really, really rough start to the season. He's really come alive as of late. Like the beginning of the year, disastrous, but as of lately, awesome. Bohm, he's been incredible all season long. Again, Rogers is another guy. I'm not looking too much into lefty-righty matchups. I feel like this Philly team is going to be able to put up 6, 7, 8 runs on Miami here tonight, so I really do like all of them. Again, a lot of these teams are pretty close together. I don't think that it's just like one team and then like a big gap and then everybody else. I feel like you can go any direction with any of these guys. GPP, we got Arizona. Arizona's facing off against a left-handed pitcher, and we know the splits of Arizona. Arizona against left-handed pitching, if you don't know, they have one of the best offenses, production-wise in all of baseball. They're number one in WRC plus, which kind of combines all of like the data and the metrics. And so we love Arizona against left-handed pitching. Against right-handed pitching, though, they're like a bottom 5 team. It's just astounding how big of a gap this offense is performing between lefties and righties. Now, they're going up against Irvin. Irvin's had some nice starts so far this season, so it is GPP in that regard. But, yeah, Arizona, great against lefties, so going to have some interest there. Milwaukee, another team. They're facing off against Lance Lynn. I really do like a lot of the lefties with them. They do have Christian Yelich back into their lineup, which is fantastic. Let's pull up their team if I can find them. Here we go. Facing off against Lance Lynn. So Yelich, 4.8K. A lot of affordability to these guys to rank. He's got a great stolen base upside. His salary has really creeped up here throughout the course of the season, but for good measure. I mean, 15 stolen bases already on the season. He's hitting over 300. Obviously got Willie Adames. Like just so many lefties that Milwaukee can throw out here and get to Lance Lynn. So I do like them in that regard. But the team below them, the White Sox, I can't believe I'm saying it. But maybe have a little bit of interest in the White Sox here. The numbers are showing interest. And they have a great matchup facing off against Carrasco. And they're just laughably cheap. But they're laughably cheap because they've just been so bad throughout the course of the entire year. But Carrasco is a pitcher that we like to pick on in terms of the bats. And what the White Sox are going to be able to do is they're going to be able to get you like a double ace lineup. So maybe you could get Suarez and maybe you can get Tanner Houck for Boston. Or maybe, let's see. How expensive is Glass now? And I clicked off the wrong guy. Is Glass now and Suarez? 3.6 remaining for the rest of your bets. The most expensive Chicago guy is 3.9. They only got 2 guys over 3.4. So, do we go with the Chicago stack? Maybe. I mean, you got Eloy Jimenez. You got Sheets. Maybe Sheets is where I start my stack. And then Tommy Pham. Oh my gosh. Oh, just looking at these names, it's so bad. But I don't know. Do I trust the numbers or I trust my gut? I don't know. The numbers say that the White Sox could be an intriguing team here, especially as cheap value. If anything, they're cheap value, and you can go in that regard. Kansas City, they're cheap. They're getting more expensive as the season goes on, and it's becoming more apparent that this offense is actually pretty good. Massey is a guy who I've been I mentioned him the other day, and he got a home run. It was awesome. I love when I pick a guy, like single him out in these videos, and then he gets a home run that night. It was fantastic. Such a good feeling. But his salary is creeping up. Salvador Perez. But I really like Kansas City, San Francisco, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I feel like I'm rambling at this point. This is where the sheet kind of breaks down. It's going to adjust, maybe as I look a little bit more. But I have a pretty good confidence that this is kind of where the sheet's going to be hanging out. Where I'm going for GPP, I don't know. I also, again, just pay attention to weather with everything. So, again, thanks for watching. Really do appreciate it. Good luck in all of your contests here tonight, and we will see you for a video tomorrow. We will have Saturday content, so come back and check that out once again. See ya.